Today we're answering a question that was left in the comments by Jada K. And her question was, what can I do if round one was a factual dispute with inaccuracies and the accounts came back as updated? For round two, do we state the same thing again? Now, I'm going to show you how you can dispute after this without stating the same thing and why you most definitely don't want to say the same thing, because guess what? It's going to come back as frivolous. So let's look at what you can do instead. All right. So you can use the link in the description, pause this video, go down to the description and open up this link. All right. So we're going to look at 3 different rounds. And again, I'm going to show you not only what you can dispute, but what you don't want to do and why you don't want to do it. All right. Now, before we get there, make sure that you smash that like, subscribe if you haven't done so. And hey, if you want to see if this is something that I can do for you, head over to my740.com, schedule a call with me, and I will see if I can help. And don't forget, on Thursday, we're doing a live workshop on how to get unstuck when the bureaus verify as accurate. And not only when they verify as accurate, but when they send those stupid stall tactics. All right. Or maybe they're just ignoring you. Who knows? Now, you're never going to find out unless you are at that live workshop, because there will not be a replay. All right. So for round one, all right, you're always going to begin with the blatant inaccuracies. Now, the reason I put this like this is because someone else in the comments asked if I can make an instructional tutorial where they can actually read this themselves. And hey, this one is for you. All right. So always begin with blatant inaccuracies. So for charge-offs, for example, you could start with date last active, right? For lates for correction, meaning you can remove them without removing the entire account. If it's only just like a handful, you can say, I was not late on date. Why? Because you're putting the burden of proof on them. And the only way for them to prove that you were actually late is to provide a copy of their bank statement, like Capital One or Barclay or whoever it is, proving that you were late on whatever date, right? Obviously, they're not going to do that. Anything else is hearsay, all right? Lates for deletion, I was not late on date. Same thing, right? For a third-party collection, you can very simply say, this is unknown, right? Because again, you're putting burden of proof on them and they do not have the documentation. They are not going to get that documentation, all right? Now, for a debt buyer collection, you can say something, as long as it's actually factual, the lates in the payment history or, past due on a collection, because those things cannot report. Now, what do you do for round two? Let's say that you send this out and you're like, man, this letter that I'm writing is totally bomb. Like, I'm going to get all these deletions. And instead of a deletion, they come back and say, A, it's verified, or B, they update the information and change it so that it's not inaccurate anymore. Now, for round two, look at charge-offs. Now you can, instead of saying date last active, right, you can go to something like date last paid. Now, I can almost guarantee you, right, virtually guarantee that these 2 different elements, date last active and date last paid, are going to be inaccurate, right? All you have to do is know the hierarchy and know what's more impactful than something else and find those inaccuracies and inconsistencies and violations. And that's one of the reasons that I have my clients use Smart Credit, right? Because it gives us a 7-year payment history. Now, if you want to check that out instead of using something like My Score IQ or Identity IQ, if your accounts are older than 2 years, head down into the description and you will find my caveat here, affiliate link down there, and you can go check that out yourself. All right. So we are not restating date last active. Like if you first said date last active, then round two, if you say, hey, but you didn't do this, or you didn't verify, or you didn't correct whatever the date last active, now they're going to come back and say, hey, that's frivolous. And now we're going to do jack for you. All right. So you need to go to something else. For lates for correction, you can ask for the supporting documentation for the investigation, and you can dispute the next late payment. Now, if there is no next late payment, you can go and look for the notice of dispute, the date last reported. You always have something else to dispute. And that's the beauty of factual based disputes. Okay. We are never out of information. Now, if you're looking to delete an account that has lates on it, go after first date of delinquency after you went for, I was not late on date, right? And obviously you're going for the oldest late payment for deletion. Okay. Now for a third party collection, you could say something like the collector did not validate or respond, and you want proof of ownership of the account. Now, there's a lot that you could do for third-party collections prior to ever sending out a factual dispute, okay? Now, for a debt buyer collection, and just as an example, that would be like Portfolio Recovery, Midland, Calvary, any of those suckers, right? You're going to say date last active. So now we're not going after the things that would be a violation on a collection. We are going after factual. So date last active, date last paid, date last reported. Now, what do you do for round three? Well, This is pretty straightforward. For a charge off, now we're going down to violation, okay? So the key to a factual dispute, and even with like validation of debt and a couple of other methods, it is the notice of dispute, because they're actually required to enter this notice that says something like, disputed by consumer or whatever, within 30 days of the date that they received your first dispute. If it's not on there by that 30th day, right? You pull your report on the 31st day, you see it's not on there, boom, violation, section 623. And obviously it's also in the FDCPA. All right, so we're going after notice of dispute on round 3. For lates for correction, copy of bank statement proving when I was late, or you can use other bureaus to prove inaccuracy if there's actual inconsistency between the 3 bureaus. Like as an example, Equifax shows that you were late on January 1st, but TransUnion reports that you were late on March 1st, but you were on time for January. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I was either late or I wasn't. And if I was late, then you should be reporting the same date, right? Lates for deletion, notice of dispute. Third-party collection, notice of dispute. Debt buyer collection, notice of dispute. Do you kind of see a pattern here? That is because this is the key to this method. Okay. Now, if I can remember this when I'm in post-production, I will post a link down in the description that will explain a little bit more about the key to this process. Now, let's go over the overall rating. So round 1 is factual, right? I'm using your reporting against you because, again, the beauty of factual disputes is that you're using what the bureaus, the creditors, and the collectors are reporting themselves. Like, you're not just pulling crap out of a hat and saying, oh, well, pursuant to section 609, you're required to section 16. You're not saying any of that stuff, right? Round 2 is factual plus proof of investigation. And obviously there was no investigation. I don't care what they say. I don't care when they say, I don't care how they say, I don't care what they do. There's no investigation. It is literally your letter going into a stupid system that reads the letter and says, hey, does your database say this? Yes. Okay. It's verified. All right. If you go back and look at Cushman versus TransUnion from 1997, you're going to see the congressional opinion was that that is not the way that an investigation is supposed to be, but you have to actually exhaust your remedies and force them to do an investigation. Round 3 is factual plus violation. All right. So here's what you don't want to do. Your dispute response will come back as frivolous if you either use the same dispute reason twice, send the same letter twice, or you don't use factual data to support your claim, right? So you're not just saying, you're reporting 3 different dates, blah, 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 remove this account. You have to say Experian date, Equifax date, TransUnion date. Otherwise, you could be saying anything and they've got nothing to support it, right? So you have to back up your argument. Now, here's another great thing. You have over 17 account elements that can be disputed right off the bat without ever looking at violations or other, blatant inaccuracies. Simply find the inaccuracies and go down the hierarchy. Monthly payment, date last active, balance, date last paid, past due, date last reported, open date, status, terms, first date of delinquency, high balance, etc. And remember that when the bureau says something is verified, it's simply an opportunity to write a new letter and prove they're wrong to get your deletion, right? The only way that you lose is to give up and stop disputing. And when you do that, they win and continue to make money. This is a game of inches and you got to play that game. All right. Always keep in mind that the best revenge is success. So dispute the right way, stay consistent and persistent, and you will see results. You'll get your deletions, your scores will increase, and they'll obviously make less money off of your info. And so will the lenders when they can't charge you higher interest. All right. So at the bottom of this page, you're going to see a couple of different links. One, to join the Verified as Accurate workshop, which again is going to be live at 6 p.m. on the 12th, which I believe it's Thursday, right? And you can also click on this one to see all current offers as well as a bunch of other awesome free stuff. You can use the second one to book a call with me, as I had mentioned, to see if I can do a credit sweep for you. Or you can use the first one to access the verified worksheets for the workshop, right? So that is it for today on what to do after sending out round 1 and it comes back as updated, even though there were actual inaccuracies that you used in your dispute, and whether you should be using the same thing again. If you have questions after you like this video, and subscribe if you haven't done so, and obviously notifications and all that, post it down in the comments and let me know, as well as let me know what you thought of this video, all right? So if you have other things that you want to know about, maybe you want to see in a video, let me know in the comments, and maybe I will be using one of your ideas in my video. All right, so that is it for today. Have a great one, and I will see you tomorrow.